When you come at your own wellness with the mentality that you're all your kids have, well, that just hits differently. And also, your life isn't over just because you have kids. Today's guest, Tori Whitaker, argues that it's just getting started, and better after baby is a mindset that comes with actualizing that reality. If we haven't met yet, hey, I'm Sarah, and I'm your host here at What's on Your Plate podcast. With every challenge and through every obstacle that tried to get in her way, Tori is living proof that you can have your life, maintain your self-worth, keep your own identity, and pursue your personal goals even after having kids. And more than that, we're talking about why that's all absolutely necessary so that you can teach your kids and that they can learn how to thrive as well. This one is really awesome. Leave some comments in the show notes if you think so too, and let us know your thoughts. I know you're going to be inspired by this one, so let's get to it. So yay, welcome back. I'm glad that we are back and reconnecting.
Yes.
I'm excited. So yeah, totally pumped today here with Tori Whitaker, single mompreneur of 2 lovely children, Harvard speaker. That's fucking awesome. Not everybody can say that.
That's a cool one.
Creator of Better After Baby,
Yes.
a brand that is dedicated to helping moms regain their health and self-confidence. I'm so excited to have you here today, Tori. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You know, what you're doing and the way you show up, even just on socials, it's pause-worthy for sure. Like being
Thank
able to
you.
just take a glimpse into what you're doing and what you've created for yourself and what you're doing for other people. It's really inspiring. And just knowing a little bit about your history and your journey and how you got to where you are, we're going to get into that for sure.
Yeah.
But even that, like just knowing all that you've gone through to get to this part of your life and your journey, it's just really, again, I'll use the word inspiring. And I want to hear about it. I can't wait for you to talk about it and elevate your journey. So let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But welcome. I'm
Thank
so glad you're
you.
here. Thanks
I
for agreeing to
appreciate
be
you
part of
having me.
it.
So thank you.
Yeah. So I don't know where to start because there's so many things, right? But you've created something amazing for yourself,
Yeah.
for your kids,
Yes.
right? Tell us, where did your journey with what you're doing now start?
I mean, gosh. This is something I think I sort of touched on in the Harvard speech as well, right? It's interesting to have to reflect and look back because I would argue that most of my ahas or my insights are very much hindsight 2020. Even just something as simple as registering the name Better After Baby. I was like, okay, I'm moving from my corporate big box gym on my own. It's alliteration, it's catchy. I cater to moms because I am one and I can really connect. Like, let's do it. And like now this journey 3 years later has become so much more than just like a trainer training moms, right? And even in my speech, I talked about how I really got started was when I left my ex-husband. I had a 6-month-old, brand new to motherhood at all, and I was essentially thrown into single motherhood, and not given that choice, but you kind of just play the hand you're dealt, right? Or I did at the time, and I really just thought to myself, like failure was not an option, and like that belief became my mantra, and it got me through each day, each week, each new level, like say unlocked, as I just continued like my evolution with my son always in tow. So it really started when I left my marriage.
Yeah. And you mean that quite literally, of just kind of getting thrown out of the marriage. I mean, it was abusive. It was a last straw. You left because you weren't putting up with that kind of shit anymore.
Yeah, I had quite literally told him 6 weeks to the day, if you ever put your hands on me again. Unfortunately, too, I was holding our son, right? So didn't even see that as a threat. Still went in to use his hands, which obviously we know on both sides shouldn't have been a thing. crossed that line. And so I kind of said, listen, you ever do that again, that's it. I'm out. You'll never see me again. And you hope, like, you're married and everybody goes through shit and you're really hopeful that person's going to hear you and respect it. 6 weeks to the day, it was the same thing. And that was it. That was literally the last time we were ever in the same room. That was the end. That was it.
And what a powerful statement by you to your son, even though he wasn't old enough to understand at that moment,
Yeah.
but to know as he gets older the
Right.
story of why,
Yeah.
and just learning very early on self-respect for himself and self-protection, and
Right.
just not settling for anything less than you deserve or want for yourself.
Correct. Correct. Especially that part.
Right, right. So as a trainer, somebody who is very disciplined already in their life and um, pushes past when they're not motivated, right, to
Sure.
show up in the gym and to do the hard things. Was that something, that mentality that you already had, was that something that helped you make those decisions early on to leave and start something different and better for yourself?
So that's a good question. Again, a lot of these like reflective, when you're in it, right? All you can see is this tunnel vision. We're getting to A, we're going to get to B, we're going to get to C. And so then people are asking you like, how did you do it? How did you do it? And you're like, you just do. And I wish there was like a better answer than that, like something with more lights and glam, but like that literally is it. To your point, you have to keep showing up and work on like, facts over feelings. The fact is, I'm going
Mm.
to feel like crapola if I continue this downward negative spiral and all my energy is on what I don't have, what I lack, what I resources, time, support. I don't have that. Or I can shift my perspective, right? Because I have that choice to say, okay, what's possible? And that's really kind of when I started gaining momentum, right? So, that strength and discipline, I think, was really put to the test, I would say, during this journey. Because
Hmm.
yeah, I'm working 2 jobs with a 6-month-old. I'm living in a guest bedroom of my girlfriend's house. And I'm studying for an exam. I'm balancing 2 jobs from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. And then I put my son down and now I'm studying for the exam and like rounds and rounds. So did I want to do that? No. Did I want to stay in the battered women's shelter? Forget it. That's a hell no, right? So, you kind of choose your hard, which I think we know, but when you're faced with that, you really do have to think like, do I want to worry about how I'm feeling and I'm going to get nowhere and my son's going to drown with me, or do I need to pull my head out of my A and keep it moving? And it was always this one with that whole mindset of like failure is not an option. It's just not. There's no sink or swim. It's what stroke? Is it breaststroke? Is it backstroke? How fast do you need me to get there? We're not sinking. We just are. We're just doing. So,
I love that so much.
yeah.
That is said from a place of such empowerment, I feel like, and that fact over feelings too. I think so many times in life we just get hung up in how we feel, even who we love, even when it's toxic,
Yeah.
right? And the facts get blurred.
Yes, 100%. That's a hard one too, especially when you're in it. You're like, the fact is, let's say in my situation, we were married. We're supposed to be forever. We made that pact. But the fact is now my safety is in jeopardy. He didn't see my son at all. That's going to be a threat. And I'm going to go into mom protection mode. I'm going to end up in jail for
Yeah,
nothing good is going to come from this. So you look at those facts and you're like, no one's going to care how your feelings are going to keep you safe. Your feelings aren't going to keep your son safe, and your feelings are going to turn to shit if something, God forbid, had happened. So, yeah, for sure, that facts over feelings, 100%.
right, right. That is so very on point and valid. And yeah, that mama bear is for sure going to come out and worse things are going to happen.
Yeah.
That's not
It's
even a
not like we
question.
try. Moms aren't inherently like these crazy creatures, animals of violence, but like as soon as you look at our children wrong or you sense there's any danger, it's just a totally feral
Oh, it's
response.
on. Yeah, no, it's on
It's
for
not
sure. It doesn't
conscious, it
matter.
just is. Yeah.
Hmm.
No, no bueno. So, yeah, let's try to avoid that for sure.
So going through all of that, at such a emotional time anyways, you're only 6 months postpartum.
Yeah.
You've shared in previous conversations about how you've never really been taught how to do feelings,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Going through this journey of your own transformation and creating a business in the process of it, knowing how to even feel the feels, even have the feels to feel, even be able to name them, even perhaps, I feel
Yeah.
like that is a really important part of going from something that you experience to where you are now.
Yeah. That's still a ongoing journey, right?
Hmm.
So as we've spoken about previous, if everything that you've seen in your childhood growing up is very much logic based and not emotionally, I don't know, supportive, aware, pick something, like emotions just weren't, right? That it was very much growing up of a, are you crying? I'll give you something to cry about, which you think backwards and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. But like that, it was just, that was sort of the upbringing, right? And so I would argue that analytical or logic brain that stepped in or overpowered the emotional side really helped get to a safe place, get to where I needed to be. But then I really, I can kind of toot my horn a little bit and recognize, okay, I got here, but I haven't dealt with all the feelings leading up to it. So that's what I'm going to do now to kind of catch up, right? It's
Hmm.
up to me to acknowledge those feelings that I did feel, or that I had to mourn, or the anger, or the whatever it was processing when I was just so hyper focused on, we need to get to safety, we need to get to the next thing, we need to get financially secure, et cetera, et cetera. All these logistics are stacking. But then at the end of that, and that'll bleed into any of your personal relationships when you haven't dealt with those feelings. You haven't dealt with that emotion. And it's not an excuse that I went through that to ignore it. I would actually argue that's even more so my responsibility to be like, all right, we need to handle the shadow work. We need to handle the stuff that you don't want to, but it's injuring your future. So as long as they can catch up at some point, and that's, we're still working on it. I think it's really important to have both sides of that. So yes, being that emotionally aware or being able to handle those emotions
Hmm.
despite the period of time, let's say, where you weren't even saying that you had them. You were just on autopilot, survival mode, let's call it.
Hmm.
So yeah.
For sure. And
Something.
that gaining of emotional intelligence is something that is probably the hardest type of learning, I feel like, in our lives, especially when we've never been taught. It's like having lived in isolation throughout your entire adolescence and then somebody opening the door for you to come out and ask you to be able to read, with never
Yeah.
having been exposed, or asking you to be able to do math configurations, or do
Yeah.
anything else that you would have been taught through your adolescence.
Yeah.
It's like a similar thing, if you've been shut down and muted and told that, there's we're not going to talk about what we feel, and I'll give you something to cry about,
Yeah.
and don't talk unless you're spoken to, like all those things that shut you down,
Yeah.
gaining that emotional intelligence and learning how to navigate it. I feel like it just intertwines in every spot in your life, personal, professional, your wellness, the way you are mothering,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's so important in everything that we're trying to pour ourselves into.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree. I mean, I really, that's a huge part too of how I can connect and relate to the moms that I serve, train, support. Because I would argue a lot of mom theories, let's call it, are just like passed down to us generally. You give yourself first, you come last.
Mhm.
You need to like let all your dreams and your hobbies and free time, that's done. You have kids now. And even me just trying to figure out like, okay, these weren't tools that I had been given, but I'm still okay to learn and I can go out on my own and try to learn this. Then I can really connect with these moms and like, hey, I know none of us were taught this, and society or whoever, whatever powers that be that have placed all these limiting things on mothers, because your
Mm.
story doesn't end just because you had kids. I would argue this is even a bigger opening and evolution, but I digress. Right? Being able to connect with moms, being like, it's okay. I understand the mom guilt. I understand all these things. And I'm here to tell you on the other side, It's so much better. You can do both, right? You can be a mom and you can be, tatted with dreads. You can wear the bikini after 40. Who says, right? This is your life. It doesn't have to make sense to everybody else, but being able to connect with that and go through those struggles with my clients, I think to use the word you used, it really is empowering. You can learn from my struggles and my failings and what I've learned on the other side. I'm living proof. Let me help you. And now we have this community of support where I would argue there's not just support for moms. There
Mm.
really isn't. And that's scary.
It is terrifying for sure because there is more of the mentality of, well, now you have kids, so you're
That,
done with that previous chapter of your life. This is
yeah.
all about them and just abandon yourself and give up on your own goals and intentions. Let's talk about that a little bit more. Let's talk about how you got away from that mentality first off.
I'm going to use the hindsight 2020. Looking back, realize that in the thick of it, being dumped from brand new mom to single mom really rocket launched me into understanding that I can't give myself. I'm all he has. That's not an option. I can't become this martyr mom. I have to work, but I also have to raise my kid. How do I balance both? And does it take long, grueling works to maybe put the system in? It did for me. It took me a little bit, but was it impossible? No, because it's up to me to make those little steps each day to keep moving the needle. So I think, it was a blessing and a curse that I never had a partner. I never had to learn those boundaries of figuring out the things of, well, what can he do? What can I do? How do we make this even? No, it was just me. So I have to still be me so I don't lose myself and now my son suffers. I actually have to evolve so my son can thrive. I would never want to teach my son, this is it. Shit gets hard. That's it. You give up, you give to your kid, and your life is over. At 31, I would never say that to my kid. What? We would never teach our kids that, but sometimes that's really tricky to put that mirror on ourselves. So again, that's kind of part of the delivery in what I do, is hey, I'm standing next to you. I've been in this glass house. I have no stones. What happens when we take our own advice that we give so freely and lovingly to our kids? See what happens with that.
That is very reflective for sure. Um, and helping them have that understanding of you're not just forgetting who you are. I think that's important for kids to see that too and know that the world isn't only about them and their wants, and really having the understanding too that you're a better mom when you take care of you.
Yeah. That was one of the studies that I saw go by, let's call it 8 months back, but there was a study, I think I couldn't quote the exact citing, but it might have been like a British thing that they were this big experiment. They were looking at the trajectory of success in children and what the biggest catalyst is, or what the biggest reason or rationale is. And everybody thought, well, it's got to be a dad in the house. And that absolutely has a very net positive effect, having two, helping parents. But it was actually the mother's happiness that was the
Mm.
biggest number one factor that determined whether the kids would thrive or not. It wasn't, oh, she bought me the biggest thing. She got me the biggest parties, all these things that are big and magnanimous. They just wanted your mom to be happy. Right. And that's just so humbling. And at the same time, you're like, duh, why wouldn't that be it? Right. It seems obvious, but we're again, so here, I think it was just for me. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I'm not giving myself so I'm miserable, and I'm teaching my kids that once you get to be a mom, then your life is over. Then that's your kids aren't going to want to have kids. You're not going to have grandkids. Like, no one's going to want that if that's how we package it. It's terrible. So, yeah,
That
this
is
is
so very
valid.
valid, to demonstrate to them that misery is the goal as an adult, right? Like that's what they're
Terrible.
supposed to become. That's what you're raising them to be. But when you're happy and in a state of joy, and your kids see that, that just pours all over them.
Exactly.
And
We
it's
emulate that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So I love that. I love that you just knew that early on that that was something that was not negotiable for you.
Yeah.
And you've just now turned it into something that you're helping other women, other moms to
Yeah.
embrace as well, because it's more than just showing up and lifting weights every day, right? It's
Correct.
hugely about mindset and your dedication to yourself. Tell us about that.
Yeah, for sure. I would argue, yes, having a, strong or aesthetically pleasing physique is a big calling card, but it's so much more indicative of like narcissism, right? It's not that at all. It's, hey, I am going to again put my facts over the feelings. Do I want to work out every day? 90% of the time I do not. I do not. No one does. But you also know that all the benefits you get from after the workout, no one's ever been like, I regretted that workout. Not one person. We regret the ones we didn't do, but after, when those endorphins are flowing and we're feeling empowered and good and energized, we feel great, right? So
Mhm.
it's more than that. So it really gets down to that mindset. Do you deserve this 4% of your day for yourself? When I put it like that, 1 hour a day, 4% of your day, you should be like, I mean, hell yes. Of course I'm worth that. I'm a nicer mom. I'm more patient. I'm more patient with my partner, my coworkers, whoever it is. I'm happier. Again, we're emulating the happiness that we want in our kids. You can't make your kids be happy. You have to show them. You have to exemplify it, right? So
Mhm.
you have to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. And I would argue most of it comes first from mindset, then the discipline of working out, and then nutrition. Obviously, how you feed yourself is a big factor in how you love yourself.
Mm.
That's a tough one for people to hear.
Tell us more about that.
That's a tricky one. I mean, we always have choices, right? And I always, one of my, like, let's call it Toryisms is like, choose your hard. Life is hard. Life is not easy. Nobody wants an easy life. You learn nothing, you value nothing. It comes with the challenges that you see, the growth, the closeness, the connection, whatever it is on the other side. It's always about that discomfort. And then on the other side, getting through that, right? Nutrition, a lot of times my parents, we start looking at what we eat. We eat the same 10 to 20 foods as humans, right? I don't need you to eat lettuce if you don't like lettuce. If you like spinach, you can have that, right? So work with what you have to accelerate that. But a lot of times what I'll get from my clients is, well, I'm trying, but then I'm eating my kids' food. So we pull that thread. Well, what's wrong with your kids' food? Well, they won't eat this and that. Okay. So what are they eating? Well, they're eating all this garbage. So my question is always, and with love and support, but it is an honest question. If you're struggling at 30, 40, 50 with nutrition, why are you setting your kids up for the exact same struggles? We all want our kids to be better. We want, and sometimes we think that that's more travel, more things, more stuff. It's not. It's not. It's teaching them better relationship with food. It's teaching them that it's fuel for your body. It's not a punishment. It's not something you earn. It's not a
Mhm.
reward. It's just fuel. You wouldn't not fill up your gas tank because you weren't going to drop. Like it doesn't, we're a working car and we need to fuel it properly. If I'm a Ferrari, I'm not going to put diesel in my engine. Why would I put diesel in my child? It's sort of like land. But again, it does strike some chords, and it is it's a tough question to ask yourself and just do a soul searching. Am I making the choices that A, I want to exemplify for my kids, but B, am I also setting my kids up to fail? It's a tough
Yeah.
one. So when they
Mhm.
start getting in on making food with you, is it the most relaxing thing? Is it the thing you want to do at 5 o'clock during witching hours, Mom? No. Is it worth it? Yes. Choose your heart. Choose your heart. You can get them the shit food. You're going to break the shit food habits. You're going to come with the, behaviors that come with the crap food and the crappy brain and fog and all the other things that come from not fueling yourself according to the way you should or the way that would show you love yourself. So that one gets dodgy. That's a tough one. But I think once people take the criticism as like love, support, and just questioning, not judgment, I think it comes through a little bit better.
For sure. It makes a lot of sense to me, and I've been an advocate of that mindset for a long time as well. Like, it's kind of it's two different things for me. One of them is making sure that my child does know that it is fuel for your body and it matters. You're
Yeah,
either going to feed wellness or feed disease. Which do
correct.
you choose?
Yes.
As a child, and they're influenced by their friends and the world around them and the places and events they participate in, it's hard for them, I think, to fully grasp that when they see all their friends eating everything that they're told that probably they shouldn't,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So, on that end of things, it's always this as long as you know the choice you're making,
Exactly.
go ahead and make it, but just understand like you might not feel good afterwards,
Yeah,
or there's going to be different consequences to each decision you make,
exactly.
and never ever wanting to like be the food police either, right?
Yeah,
So it's just this weird balance, I think, and I think it's dependent on your kid's age, how you
totally.
can take it, whether they're athletic or not. My son is, so being able to have the conversation of how do you want to perform, and do you want to feel good or cramp or
Yeah.
sluggish, or there's all these things that I think resonate more when you are active as a young kid.
Yes.
Um, that make a difference.
Yeah.
So that early food conversation though is so important, and it's a big piece of the puzzle of wellness.
Yeah. What I've also found with my kids, the more I involve them on it, the more empowered they are. So let's say I have to take both kids to the grocery because it's just me. I don't need to get babysitter to go to the grocery. Do I
Hmm.
want to again take my kids to the grocery at 7 o'clock? No, I do not. Do I do it anyways? Yes, I do. When I do that, I arm them with tools. Okay, we need breakfast food. What should we have? Start giving them either a this then choice, right? Depending on age, because you can't just
Hmm.
give blanket statements to like a 4-year-old or like blanket open-ended questions. You'd be there for a year.
Yeah.
But if you said like, okay, what were you thinking? All right, great. Now my son can read. I said, if you can read the first three ingredients, we'll get it. He is shocked, angered, but also understands that when he reads it, it's not me saying you can't get the Eggo waffles. You just can't. It's not policing his food. It's saying, well, what are the first three ingredients? And if you can't read it, then how would your body know how to read it, right? Teaching them that and they understand. Are they frustrated? Yes. Do they opt to help more actually now that we have to be creative and try to make the things not as, all the crap they put in it anyways? Yes. But then, okay, now we bring together closeness and I'm teaching them a life skill. I'm teaching my kid to fish. I'm not buying him sushi. I'm teaching him to fish so he can take that as he gets older and he understands more. Nova, my daughter, she's 6. How many colors can you put in your little grocery cart from the frozen or from the fruit section? She's going to eat everything she picks. She doesn't just pick
Hmm.
stuff. She picks it and is like, I picked these cherries, so we're going to eat them. Now, I'm blessed to have always had this sort of mentality. I'm not making 2 meals because, again, it's just me. So they eat what I eat. But I understand kids being picky, or even my son being 9 and seeing his friends. Well, they have all these Dunkaroos. Read the ingredients, buddy. Well, they don't know. Now he's telling the kids, did you know that there's canola oil in it, right? So is it totally nerdy? Yes. Is he also passing on information to try to help his friends too? Totally. And it becomes more normalized that you're not the kid that's weird because you ate the good food. You're the one that's inspiring others and you had no idea. It's kind of a
Yeah.
double-edged sword.
I love that so much. There was so many fun little gems that you put in there that I think a lot of people are going to really connect with in terms of helping their kids make better choices and helping involve their kids in making the better choices and be invested in it, because that's when it's lasting.
That part, when they feel autonomous, they feel independent. My son
Yeah.
actually made up a recipe that's in my single mom cookbook. It's a e-digital book. It's got like, I think 15 of our tried and true recipes. We have all of these weekly. My kids love them. They're macro friendly, they're good fuel, and they're all regular ingredients. And my daughter has a lot of food aversion. So it's really healthy, but it tastes good, right? And he came up with a recipe, calls it easy chicken. Sarah, it is the easiest thing ever. It's literally a chicken thigh in an air fryer. He puts pre-seasoned brown sugar bourbon seasoning, 10 minutes on 400, flips it, seasons it again. He has made lunch. He
Mhm.
feels empowered. I'm like, it's published, right? It's on the internet. I'm an author. Like, there's no bad anything that just came from this. He made it up. He feels empowered. He knows how to cook, even if it's basic. I'm not raising my child to be useless or dependent on me. Like, I want to raise an independent, free thinking, supported kid who understands. Is it always
That's
easy? No. Is it worth it? Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
phenomenal. I love that what you're doing, to just empower them in terms of just independence in general, whether it's
Yes.
food or anything else. But it's amazing, and it's not hard to understand how that naturally gravitated into your mothering when you're already of that mindset,
Yeah.
just from the life you've lived.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. So from your journey that we've talked about thus far, How did Better After Baby start? How did that come into play and into the equation?
So I was at Equinox for about 6.5 years. During COVID, things really started to polarize, let's call it. And I made the decision to leave. Like I said, I had, a couple independent clients outside of the gym. Then they started word of mouth and they really were like, you should see this woman. She's got 2 kids. She's doing it by herself. She really is her calling card. And my clients understood, and I'm so grateful for them, that the referrals spread like wildfire, right? And so I started just, again, targeting moms. How can I help you create boundaries with setting yourself as number one, whether it's meal prepping for self-love, working out to get your body moving, release endorphins, put that 4% of your day into your first tank to fill up your cup, right? So you can pour to everybody else, as we do anyways. Um, and at first, I was like, I'm just going to train whoever I can because I'm just starting out on my own. I'm like, oh my God, I made the jump. I don't have a security net. I've never had a security net. This is sort of my MO, but again, we're looking hindsight. And one of my girlfriends was kind of like, yeah, you can help everybody, but you really speak to moms because you can empathize. You get it. Yes, your training's great. Yes, your food's great. You actually were your own, client. You lost the baby weight safe, effectively. You were nursing, whatever. You're pre and post natal certified, but you were also the embodiment of your mission statement. So that authenticity really helped, you know, take my career off. So since then, it's just been, continually evolving. I'm more than just a trainer. This takes more than just workouts. I'm looking at your holistic everything. I'm looking at your sleep, your recovery, your stress management. Where can you find the who to do the what so that you can be more efficient in what you're doing? So we're not stretching ourselves so thin that all the, like, let's call it just even by example of the holidays, everybody's stressed. I'm not stressed. I went to one party. I don't have any FOMO. It's all good. Like I don't drink. I've made that decision for myself, and that might not be everybody. I'll still go and be social, but sometimes I'm just not willing to sacrifice the next day of productivity or sleep or whatever if it doesn't really align. And I know a lot of people have a hard time, especially during the holidays. So the brand Long Way Home is more again than just like, oh, she's the mom with the good body. That's flattering. But then when you see my socials, to your point, you see that there's more depth. It's more of mindset. It's more like, hey, we don't need perfect, we need real. We don't need to be airbrushing this life or editing pictures or selling shit that doesn't work. This is a lifestyle. And I want to tell you that your life doesn't end when you have babies. I would argue it gets better. And that's kind of where it came from. I don't do any pre-baby body reminiscing. I don't do pre-baby life. I've traveled more than I ever have. I've taken my kids with me. I've left my kids. I've done all of it after having kids. I'm stronger. I'm better mentally. I have better boundaries. And I don't know that that's really common yet.
Would
Yet.
you say that that is coming from something you had said earlier about, well, just arguing that it is better since becoming a mom? Is that because you have these little humans to influence and make into good humans?
I mean, yeah, that's a huge part of it. Huge part of it. You do. You really you can say you walk this walk when you got these 2 little gremlins copying everything and you're really faced with your reflection every single day. They emulate everything. They don't listen. Kids do not listen. They copy. They copy and they want what's on your plate. You'll make them the chicken nuggets and mac and cheese, and they're like, I want your tilapia. And you're like, what the hell? What's it? That's when you start to click. Oh, they will eat what I eat. Just make one thing, right? Let's make this efficient, make it easier. But yeah, if I'm telling my kids, you got to eat healthy, and I'm going to McDonald's, I'm a freaking liar. They hold me accountable. It's so much more than just a why. It's like these little tiny freeloading accountability bullies that are like, they're like, Mom, you didn't work out today? And you're like, damn, I can't even argue because you're right. But like, then you feel like, hell yeah. See, they're so used to it. Now they're asking. Boom, they're set up for
Yeah.
success. That's going to spread into more than just sports and whatever. That's going to be helpful in their life.
Yeah, that's so funny that you say that. My kid does that Same thing to me where, he'll ask me if I ran today or
Yeah,
something after I pick him up from school. And if I didn't, I'm like trying to think of all these things to tell him of
yeah,
why that didn't
and
happen.
you
And
can't.
really, it's just I didn't put it first.
Yeah, I didn't make time.
Yeah,
You're right,
that's so
buddy.
funny.
You're right. All right, let's go outside and kick the soccer ball. Damn, like, but good because we do that to our kids, right? Did you practice? Did you study for your test? Did you practice for the game? But like when you have them so used to that as a lifestyle that it's so
Mhm.
commonplace for them that they're kind of like, well, why isn't it there? Then I feel like you've won. Like that's the goal. Set them up for the
Right.
success. So when you do have to release them into the wild at 18, no, I'm not helping you put a down payment on your house. Get out of my house. We've had those conversations. Like, get out. I'll trust that he's good. He has all the tools. Now, he has free will and so does she, and we'll see what that looks like. But it won't be because they weren't exposed. It won't be because I didn't emulate the feelings. It won't be because I never apologized and showed that I too was fallible. I absolutely do. That's another generational thing that I don't think really happened in our parents' generation. There was no I don't remember my parents ever apologizing,
Oh,
ever,
right.
ever. Like doing that stuff. Just again, it's all about this empowerment, the autonomy, the independence. Yes, they're supported. Yes, they're loved. But teaching them that they can do it, that's like the biggest gift to pass on. That's the legacy.
For sure. And I think another thing is really owning your mistakes too, and helping your kids understand that those are lessons and we learn from them, and just
Yeah.
know that you're going to continue to make mistakes and make better ones tomorrow.
Yeah. That's a big one. Even, I don't know if your kid ever says this, and bless his heart when he does. He's like, well, you never make mistakes. You're perfect. And you're just like, what planet did you just come back from? Like, buddy, I make mistakes every day. That's how I learn. So being open about that, communicating
Mhm.
that, hey, I'm sad. Like again, generationally before us, we didn't show sadness. We didn't show struggle, right? That vulnerability was really a weakness. I don't know why
Mhm.
but it's real, it's authentic, and I think it's really important, especially with my mindset coaching. I'm teaching my moms like you can't control or manipulate the outcome so that your kid only ever experiences joy, happiness, and glee, because when they have to manage anger, sadness, fear, they don't know what to do.
Right.
So cry in front of your kids.
Mhm.
Say sorry when you F up. That's a hard one. But it's so important because how are they ever going to apologize to anybody else too? Again,
Mhm.
if they're not taught, they're not shown that. Um, yeah, giving
Absolutely.
giving them these lessons like, hey, I'm fucking doing my best, buddy, but like we're all out here winging it. You don't have to have it perfect. You just have to keep showing up.
It's funny that you say your kids like say that you're perfect and you don't ever make any mistakes. Well, my kid absolutely lets me know when I make a mistake. He calls me out on that shit. There's no illusions that I don't, because yeah, he's the first one to be like,
First one to point out, yeah. Oh yeah,
but
he
he's
does that too.
also, yeah, but he also reminds me that I can try again.
Yeah,
Like, which I think is really great too. I really tried to instill that,
yeah,
like, you don't just like miss your shot and don't try again
yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly.
Um, but I think that mentality rolls over into motherhood too, in terms of like, just because you did miss that run, right? Or you did miss that workout this
Yep.
morning, it doesn't mean that you can't try again tomorrow.
Right.
Like,
You're back up.
don't just say fuck it to the whole week or the whole month
Yeah.
because or even the whole day, right?
Yeah.
Just try again later. It doesn't mean that everything has to get derailed, right?
Right.
How do you help moms manifest that mindset of, for one, putting themselves on the top priority list, right? And getting away from everything has to be about the kids first. And then if it does shift and it does get out of alignment, how do you get them back to the mindset of like, it's okay, like just readjust and get back on track?
That's a good question. So a lot of times, for example, one comes to mind. I went to a woman's house. I go to her home and I train her in her gym. And she just started spewing. I drank too much. I didn't get enough sleep. I got in a fight and I let her have it. Like have that energy. Let's get that out. And then I said, okay, tell me 3 wins. And she's like, okay, she's wiping her tears and she's thinking, she's like, well, I did go on a walk. I moved my body, which was again, a very new client, very small goals. These are all ones to celebrate. There's no goal too small to celebrate ever. And I
Mm-hmm.
encourage my clients, don't worry about the outcome, celebrate the journey, right? Again, and I'll, connect on, I made a goal to, let's say, cold plunge every day this week and I only got 2 in. And I'll be like, hey, I'm owning it. I'm showing up. I've been off my shit. I'm getting back up, because it doesn't take away from that. Just like one salad won't make you skinny, one ice cream's not going to make you fat. Like this all or nothing mentality, I help them
Mm-hmm.
erode by challenging what they know is negative and then trying to force them to come up with their own to balance it out with the positive. Because what
Mm-hmm.
I've learned too in the psychology is when you're working and you're focused on gratitude, there's been studies with like electrodes on your head, like what part of the brain lights up. When you're focused on positive, you can't also be at the same time anxious.
Hmm.
So genuinely, by way of me forcing them out of their, let's say, black hole, they pull themselves up. I'm not saying, hey, Sarah, but you're incredible and you're this and you're that, because that's gonna be like hydrophobic, like water on a duck, right? That's gonna roll right off. You're not gonna receive. But if I'm like, Sarah, you know what? Tell me 3 things that you're really proud of today. And as soon as she had said them, she said, oh, you're good. I feel better. And you notice, right? I'm not doing that work for you, but I'm absolutely your passenger princess. And I am probably the biggest cheerleader you're going to have once you start working with me. Whether we're still working together, whether it's 6 months, hey, share some wins, right? They come back to me. They always share that. Just breeding those little reps of, hey, I know it's shitty right now. What else you got? Give me some 3 things that are good. And it forces you to pull yourself out of that. So that really helps with the mindset coaching, getting rid of that all or nothing, that perfectionism that we adopt because we gave birth. What is that, by the way? That's all of us. What is that? I have to get my Christmas cards out by December 1st. Who says? Like, if you do it this year, great. If you don't, great. Like, live your life.
I
Don't do
gave that
it
up
for
years
others.
ago.
What's that?
I gave that up years ago.
Yeah,
The
if it
stress
doesn't
of like
align,
things.
just too much.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But there is a lot of guilt that turns into then shame and blame and all of that in motherhood for sure, that you do feel like you have to do all these things all the time and nobody else can do them but you. And that's a whole nother toxic level of thinking, right?
Yeah.
The control issues that come with it all. And
Yes.
but getting moms away from that so they show up for themselves first.
Mhm.
Where do we start with that? How do we get consistent with that?
Small, really measurable goals. I go basic anchors, water, sleep, and steps. Like you have to do all 3. So if you're just bringing awareness to those things, and like I said, we start focusing on the good and that starts to
Mm-hmm.
pick up speed. Oh, you got 100 ounces of water? Awesome. You were up for the challenge. You did that. Once you start moving that needle higher and higher and raising that bar, it
Mm-hmm.
might seem really small and you keep adding. We always add good behaviors. The crappy one falls off. Once you get to that level, then you're standing at the top of this hill like, oh, all right. And then you realize how far you've come. And then you're like, okay, so maybe I can. So it's really just about those incremental things. Hey, you tell me 3 goals. Don't tell me I want to work out 6 days a week if you haven't worked out in 8 years. Don't tell me you want to only have sad chicken and sad broccoli and white rice for every meal when you're, eating out. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They have to be measurable, they have to be tangible, and they have to be so small. They might even seem arbitrary at first, but then when we start stacking them, you're kind of like, oh, again, we're creating that momentum. It doesn't have to be a blast, right? This is a lifestyle. This isn't like a quick burn, a 30-day rocket launch. It's genuinely a lifestyle. And that really comes with just anchoring yourself to pick 3 things. Your body or your brain, excuse me, can only really handle 3 things at a time anyway. So pick 3 things: water, sleep, steps.
Yeah, that's so empowering. And also, like, don't be afraid of the mundane, right? Because I think a
Mhm.
lot of people, especially when they're like starting back or starting anew, like they feel like they have to glamorize it, right? They need to go out and buy all the workout clothes and the
Yes.
new watch to track their steps and
Right. Too
like
much.
all the things. I don't even know. Like, but just there is so much power and progress in the mundane, just the same thing every day. It doesn't have to be fancy.
Yeah. And I would argue it shouldn't be fancy. There's magic in the boring. because consistency is what sets people apart, not the glitz and glamour, not the quick fat, I lost 10 pounds this week. Great. How's it look next week? They're
Mm,
just being okay and accepting that basics never die. Cannot lose with basics. Strip away all the extra stuff that becomes noise and too much overload of information and overstimulus. Strip it to the basics. Water, sleep, and steps. Okay, well, we got that. All right. Start walking 20 minutes 3 times a week. Oh, that's easy. Great. Talk to me after you've done that for a week. When that becomes easy, we continue to build, and you'll forget again where we started when you're now working out 4 days a week. But if I said, Sarah, we're going to work out 7 days a week and you haven't lifted a weight in 8 years, you might come out really excited and you're going to burn out just as quick as you came out. So real quick, boom, real quick, blah, right? So
right.
little by little, we add good behavior so the shit falls off. Never restrict on anything.
I love that mentality too, because that's another thing is people feel like, you know, the blanket, the pacifier, the boob, the everything that's comforting to you has to like go out the door all at the same time, right? All the things that you find nurturing or helpful or just an escape, even if we're
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
But if you start piling on the good before you start taking away the vices and the bad and the things that are unhealthy, like they're just gonna, like, you're gonna feel so good, you're not even gonna notice like not doing them.
Correct. You add those good behaviors. For example, let's say you're like, I don't want to drink as much. If I said, hey, listen, we're done drinking, naturally your brain is going to then be like, I have to drink. It's like this crazy visceral response that we honestly, it creates like the binge, restrict, binge, back and forth. So if I
Mhm.
said, hey, like every drink you have, I want you to have a bottle of water between each vodka soda, you're going to start to go less and less just by way of the volume in which you're drinking, or you're going to be like, I don't even need as much. Like it's going to slowly wear off without, again, you noticing. Or even something
Mhm.
like, no, all this restricting is just crazy because it just, again, leads to burnout. No cookies, no cake, no ice cream. Da, 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 da. I've had my girls literally be like, I want a Dove bar today. So they put that in their planner and they work their day backwards. And we're still seeing success. You don't have to choose, right? All or
Mhm.
nothing. You can make it work. Maybe we didn't have guacamole and loaded nachos in the same day, but we had them on 2 different days. And guess what? We're still making it work. So now we crave it less. We still feel very fulfilled. And we kind of start to forget that we even need that stuff. Secondary
For
habit.
sure.
Yeah.
Even the generational patterns that's going to break,
Mhm.
as moms, like we grew up in our era of childhood. I mean, everything, I don't know about you, maybe I shouldn't say it's everybody, but my grandmothers were chronic dieters. My family members who were overweight were trying
Weight
constantly
Watchers.
all the gimmicks and all
Yep.
the ways and all the
Yep.
trends to lose weight. And as soon as they started restricting, they might have a minute of result and success in the direction they wanted to go, but then it was complete steps backwards,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
helping our kids understand too that, yeah, you can have that piece of cake for
Yeah.
sure. But let's have a glass of water
Yeah.
afterwards,
Yeah.
before you start asking me for a cookie then afterwards,
Correct.
or,
Maybe tomorrow.
yeah, like it's not that you can't have it, but let's
Correct.
be reasonable
Yeah.
and let's pause so we don't
Yeah.
just take on more than we should in anything in life, right? And
Yeah.
that's whether it is the food or the fitness or toxicity and diet from just what you're absorbing from TikTok or Netflix or the company you keep. It's all part of your diet, right?
Yeah.
So, and it affects so much, just like you're saying, you committed to one outing recently, one event,
Yeah.
we're recording this during the holiday season. You went to
Yeah.
one holiday party, and had you committed yourself to more of those, that is part of what you're internalizing in your diet more than, in addition to food. Like diet is so much more than food. And that would have like derailed your sleep, your
100%.
mindset the next day. Like you would have just said, maybe I can just let more fall by the wayside. And the
Blow
more you
off
get
my
away,
class. Yeah. I hear a lot of my moms saying it too. We've got my class on 5:45 Wednesdays and Fridays. And they're coming in. I'm like, how's everybody feeling? I only have 8 girls in there, so I can really tailor it and be personal. And, And some of my clients are like, I'm hungover. I feel off. I got 4 hours of sleep and I got another one tonight. And so I'll ask and I'll be like, do you want to go tonight? And they're like, no. I'm like, then why are you going? Well, you know how it is. I said, I don't. Pull the thread. How is it? Right? Get them talking. Again, this is not judgment. This is not me leading the horse. This is just helping you work it out. Do you want to do it because you'll enjoy it? Then I would do more. If you're doing it because you feel like you have to for other people, well, when did we become the sacrificial lamb? We still have 3 kids to deal with in the morning at 5 o'clock and a workout. No,
Right.
no
Right. For
boundaries.
sure.
No,
And I love
no.
that you're like putting that back on, putting that mindset back into the women that you're helping. You're not trying to give them solutions.
Correct.
You're trying to help them take what they already know,
Yes.
right? Because all the answers
He's
are
in
in
there.
in ourselves, right? We
He's
just
in
have
there.
to remind ourselves and come back into ourselves. We might
Yes.
need somebody like Tori to help us
Remember who
find
we
those
are.
answers
Yeah.
again. Yes, remember who you are, get back to yourself. But
Yes.
ultimately, we do have our own answers.
Yes.
So I love that you're asking the question,
Yes.
how do you feel about that instead of just, hey, this is how you feel.
Yeah. Well, that's because you're doing X, Y, Z. Now I'm hearing somebody mother me. I probably already have a mother who did enough of that. That's how they parented. I don't need to come down on you. You're sitting here firing on all cylinders. You're already depleted, and I would kick you when you're down. No. And that's the beauty of my company. It's not better after baby, look like me, be eclectic and bold and boisterous. That's just who I've always been. That's me. That's inner child Tori, just like owning it and just being like, I don't care because I know I'm a good person. I know I'm here to help. But that's going to look so different on Sarah, who's going to look different on Stacy, who's going to look different than Trish. And that's the awesome part, is that it doesn't matter where you've come and where your journey has gone. We don't, again, have to be these socialites that connect us or anything. We can connect on the fact that we gave birth. We want to remember who the hell we were before we had kids, and we want to bring that to motherhood so we get to enjoy both, right? Because then in 18 years, there's another phase and your kids are gone. And are you going to sit there and look in the mirror and be like, who the hell is that? And who is this partner? Or will you have already done that work to maintain that it's going to come back to just you two after they've grown up and grown on? So I want to make sure you've got that. I want to make sure you know exactly who you are. And if you evolve and you go through changes and phases, great, that's life. You should. But don't forget who you were before you had kids, because life gets better after kids if that's your journey, not worse. We don't need to reminisce like we died. Like that's just so morbid and not true. It's really not nice. Why did we get there? No, not doing that anymore.
Yeah, no, I love that too. You don't reminisce about life before motherhood because we should be turning the page of life to the next more intense, better part of our stories. It shouldn't
Yeah.
be about wanting to go back and read the same thing again.
Yeah, we wrote that chapter. It got us right here. And we can
Right.
tell our kids about the stories of when we were dumb and young, and that's all part of it. Great. But like, mom didn't die at 30 because she had us. First of all, that's a lot of guilt you place on children that deserves no space for, right? That why we would never do that consciously. So that's sort of what it would say subconsciously. Hey, yeah, everything was great until I had you guys. What? What did we do? We existed. And truth be told, hardly any of us remember life before kids because it's so awesome now. Is it also chaotic and absolutely insane? Yes. But we would never go back as mothers. I think I can speak for the general population. We would never go back and be like, give them up and try again. Like I would, there's no world in which anyone would say that. No real mom would say
No,
that, right?
no.
It looks
And
different, but you can create it.
yeah, for sure. And in fact, there's the very real, tangible concept that your kids really want just a happy mom, right? And they don't want to be responsible for you not living your best life. They don't want
Yeah.
to become adults and hear you say, "Oh, I didn't do this because I became a mom and I had kids and I gave it all up for you." Like they don't, that's not theirs to
Yeah.
carry.
What is that baggage we just threw on them to hold as toddlers? Ew.
Right. Right. And then
No.
carrying that into adulthood and like carrying this guilt around, or my mom like sacrificed her whole health and well-being and career and relationship happiness and all the things because she decided to be my mom. No, like don't put that on your kids when they're
No.
little or adults.
Ever. No, not at all.
So I guess the, point of that is like take care of yourself now. Do the things that make you happy now, and your kids will be so much healthier and happier because of that.
Yeah. There's also this assumption, and I'm sure, especially as we get older, we're very much faced with the stark reality that like we don't just have time with everyone we think we're going to have time with, right? And
Yeah.
that could go for us, God forbid. But like we don't know what universe has like scripted. So why would I wait to start my life either like, after they left for college, or like why would I sacrifice I'm miserable. My kids are going to watch me being miserable. Like it's just going to be this whole
Yeah.
wet mop cycle of we would never want that for our kids ever.
No.
So when you really stop
Mm-mm.
and think about it with like logic brain, instead of like putting all these standards on you that don't need to be there, you're like, oh, you're right. Why would my kid ever want me miserable?
For
They
sure. I mean,
wouldn't.
it's like switching the reflection and like your kid being the one saying, I can't start living my happiness and my life until this next thing or this
Yeah.
next phase. Like you would never tell your kid, you have to wait to do the things that are good for you or that you love until
Yeah.
whenever. Like do it now.
Right. Yeah.
For
Decide now.
sure.
Let's do it. Yep. Absolutely.
So when you're showing up every day for your clients, tell us a little bit more about what that looks like. So you're working one-on-one with people, you're doing group situations in the morning. Um, you're showing up socially just on the platforms and giving
Yeah.
bits and pieces and glimpses. Tell us more about what it looks like every day for you in your business and how you're showing up for moms.
So I really try to, again, kind of like my parenting, lead by example. I could sit here on my socials and preach to you all these things I do, or I'll just show you that I do it, right? If you choose to join, you do. If not, that's great. Like again, my philosophy is always like take what you like, leave the rest. Even if there's
Yeah,
pieces of my stuff that you like, take that. Every
yeah,
every conversation, every connection, you should be able to take a piece of that with you, and that betters you in whatever capacity you need, right? So I'm showing up right now. It's a lot of in person. It'll soon start to morph to more of an all-inclusive, more of a remote online. But we're working on that for 2025. Really combining the mindset, the nutrition, and the training. So as of right now, we have lots of one-on-one. I show up for them. I have group training online as well to impact more moms. I have nutrition support. And like I said, we're just kind of merging that and combining that to make that all more one holistic approach. But really, what I'm doing, what you see on social is what you get in person. There's nothing I'm selling. I don't have like proprietary relationships where I'm like, look at this glute band. You're going to get my butt. Like, I would never sell a gimmick. And in fact, I am like the anti influencer. I'm never going to lie to you. I'm not going to sell you anything that I don't use myself or believe in, at least. And that's very far and few between. But really, what I'm going to do is like model it. I'm going to show up, show you what I do. This is how I've gotten here. If you're wondering, I mean, my own example. And if you have more questions, let's set up a connection call. Like, let's talk about it. How can I get you to where you want to go? So I'm really just living a life of authenticity. I know, again, it's social media. So the idea of it's like, it's not real, but my shit is real. The good, the bad, the ugly, the bad sleep, my kids are with my mom right now, the not ideal situations. This is all sort of part of the brand. It's real. It's not perfect and it's not edited or scripted, but it is real. So I think that really helps me connect with moms because they get it. And they're like, well, shit, if she doesn't have help and I have a whole husband, I can do better. Like I can firm up my boundaries. I have a partner here, not another child. He helped me make those kids. It's okay to ask for help from your partner, stuff like that, right? So just modeling the behaviors I really buy into, hoping that it helps or impacts at least one person a day. Um, and yeah, even when I don't want to show up, I'm going to tell you, I didn't want to go to the gym today, but I did because no one cares. And I feel amazing after, just like the real raw, no feelings like, you know, sugar coated here. It's just real, authentic, and I'm gonna give you the answer to the test. So if you want to get 100, copy me. If not, that's your journey. Like it's very much come one, come all, take what you like, leave it if you don't, you know?
That's awesome. I love all that. And especially the part that nobody cares, you know?
Yeah.
So like show up for yourself because literally like nobody cares if you don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Um,
Doesn't affect me.
so
Yeah.
right. Like
Affects you
just
though.
yeah, it
So
affects you. You care. You're gonna regret
yeah.
that later.
Yeah.
So you're the one that needs to care for sure.
Yeah.
Um, it's just I love all that. I love how real you are. It is absolutely the reason that moms connect with you
Yeah.
and are drawn to you because I sure as shit don't want like somebody acting like everything's perfect and polished and then expecting me to do the same thing because it's definitely not going to happen.
No.
So yeah, showing up just as your authentic self is exactly what is just gravitating more moms towards you. It is just
Yeah.
going to continue to do so. And I can't wait to see what you continue to do
Me too.
in the future. What should we watch out for from Tori? I'm excited to see what you have coming. What are the goals?
Well, listen, like my 2025 goals that I had spoken to my business coach about for, obviously the upcoming year were speaking on stage and being on podcasts. I love to collapse time. I love to rip band-aids off and not simmer on decision making. So like I appreciate you inviting me. This was one of my big goals. So like rip that band-aid and like super grateful for that. And I spoke on a stage at Harvard. I was terrified. My partner saw it and he tagged me and I was like, what is this? He's like, just reach out. Somehow now I'm speaking on a stage at Harvard. And I was like, oh my God. And he's like, I knew you could. Right. And you're like, oh, well, I'm glad that was easy for you. I was up here like baby deer having like a stanky leg party. Thought I had like shaking like my whole body. But I did those in 2024 and I'm super proud of myself for those
Yeah.
because that's a real big stretch for me. I've never done this stuff before. So
Uh-huh.
I think 2025, I mean, I'm going to create real impact and offers. I really want to do a mission trip. Um, Probably with my business coach. I'm not sure if it's going to be 2025 or 2026, but I'm putting it out there. I'll be going to Kenya, helping speak at a place for a lot of girls. They have a lot of period poverty there, so they do a lot of donations with that. And I'd love to be a part of it. Like I love a life of servitude.
Yeah.
I'm super grateful to be where I am, but I want it. I don't want it for me. I want to give it back, right? And
Mhm.
maybe speaking on more stages, maybe more podcasts, and definitely bigger offers for bigger impact. So really want to 10x this business, really just set up a space that moms know they're supported in every walk of life. It's not as hard as everybody's making it out to be. And if they say it's super easy, they're selling you something. Like, I want to strip the bullshit. I'm a no bullshit girl. I don't want you to bullshit me. Just tell me the way to get there. I don't want to go due west and end up in California. Tell me the map quest. Give me the directions. And I have that for you. So if I can be of service and I can empower you to figure that out for yourself, we're just gonna kind of blow the lid off of it. So definitely gonna see a lot more of me making more impact, really reaching out and empowering moms and really setting them up for success as well. And just kind of on this mission to completely eradicate the martyr mom mentality. No more. No more mom bods, no more mom jeans. What the hell is that? No more of this. This is why are we put in these like blah boxes? We created life, Sarah. We brought children into this portal. What? We need to be praised. And so I'm creating that space because it doesn't exist from what I've gathered. And I just want, moms to be more empowered and understand how impactful they are, how much power they have, and how they can have it all. You can be a mom and you can still be you. You don't have to choose.
That's perfect. So perfect right there. I'm excited for everything you have coming forward. You are just a powerful, vibrant, magnetic light, and I love your
Yeah.
energy. Can't wait to see what you bring forth
Me
in the
too.
future. And
Thank you
just
so
proud of
much.
you, honestly, for everything that you've done thus far.
Thank you.
It's just really inspiring. So thank you just
I
for being
appreciate that.
exactly who you are.
It's all I can be. Everyone else is taken, right?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tori. This has been amazing.
You got it, girl. Thank you.
One of the eye-opening realizations in this conversation was the part about our children's success being directly related to a mother's happiness. We do a good job of faking the smile, putting on a happy face for our kids, and pretending to be happy because we think that's what they need. But our kids are really smart, and they can see right through that. Kids learn about happiness first by watching their parents. And like Tori said, these kids don't listen, but they do copy. That should be a big aha for the do as I say, not as I do folks. Tori's one of the most inspiring moms I've ever met. She shows up authentically every day for herself because she knows that means also being the best mom for her kids. I love the no BS approach on life and how she's simultaneously teaching her kids to be accountable to themselves first. This episode was straight fire. I encourage you to follow along with Tori's journey and reach out to her with the links in the show notes. If you love this conversation and want to keep more like it coming, please rate and review this episode. Follow and subscribe to the platform. Leave a comment or share it. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate you. Until next time, friends.